All right, guys, welcome in, welcome in. I appreciate you tuning in. We're gonna get right into this. I got to tell you, one of the best debaters that I've seen in a while is Charlie Kirk. It did an amazing job of getting everybody, at least the young-minded, to open their eyes a little bit. He did a very good job. I mean, that's why these college campus debates were so critical, so important to the conservative movement, and actually any movement, because what Charlie did was able to open young person's minds who were trapped in this closet and think outside of that closet, outside of that closet, outside of the box, and say, hey, look, I know for some reason people tell you that racism exists and white supremacy is holding you down and you deserve reparations and you're a victim, but none of that stuff's true. And here's exhibit A, B, and C. Okay. And that's one of the things that I want to preach to the young Black Democrats out there. Not one person is a victim. Okay, not one Black person right now is a victim. We don't deserve reparations. We don't deserve anything that puts unfair advantages to Black people and discredits hardworking white or Asian Americans, because at the same time, we are all equal. For whoever, this Democratic message out there that is telling people that Black people can't make it, that you can't do this, you can't succeed, you can't be who you want to be because the white man had you down and you're a victim and all the slavery and all this, it's crap, it's nonsense. It's not made to exist. What it is, it's a Democratic message in order to keep the Black person down so they can keep voting Democrats, because that's a Democratic message at the end of the day. That's a Democratic position, because it is telling Black people, okay, that for some reason, white Americans, you'll never make it in white America. So you need to vote Democrat, because what we're going to do is we're going to give you benefits. We're going to keep you relying on the government. We're going to give you all these things so you never can get up on your own 2 feet and make it in America. And that's what the Democratic message is. And for some reason, it worked, especially for the young Black people. I mean, the kids that are 18, 19, 20 on these college campuses talking about, we can't make it and we're victims. It's just utter nonsense. And that's why I'm so glad that, rest in peace, Charlie. Charlie went on these college campuses and debated these kids and tried to confront them with facts and let them know that I don't look at you as a Black man. I look at you as a man, and you can make it in America. America is not racist. You guys need to get out of this mindset that the white man has it out for you. No one cares about skin color anymore. It's about the character, the content of your character. That's what we judge people on, not the color of your skin. So I'm glad Charlie was able to confront these people and have honest and open debate. So this is one of the debates that we're going to go into right now.
Oh, ma'am, you've been doing it forever. Welcome to the First Amendment. I fought for it.
Sir, can you just stay focused on me?
Taxpayer-paid jacket.
Sir.
Thank you. I brought it overseas.
All right, sir, just ask me the question.
So what is it about conservatives and this whole racism thing? Like, you guys are always just saying that it's either not a thing or it's, just not in any of the institutions or the police department. But it seems that over the past 18 years, we've had several race riots, and the biggest one being in 2020. So it's like, how are we still denying segregation in a city where...
First off, I just want to say the race riots, by the way, were started by Black people when George Floyd, had his incident happen. But white people didn't cause that. You had one officer that did his thing, and Black people just lost their crap all across the country. Every major city in this country had riots. Okay. First of all, that officer went to prison. Okay. He's in prison. So the fact that Black people are sitting there saying race riots when Black people were the one that caused this, Derek, the officer, was already going to prison. Period. End of story. He was already going to prison. Black people decided to loot, decided to steal, decided to destroy buildings, decided to light cop cars on fire. That is their decision. That's not white person decision.
We can clearly see what fucking neighborhoods are white, which ones are Black, which ones are Latino, and we know how we got there. So it's like, what is it with conservatives and admitting that there's a problem and not addressing it? Because it seems like you guys want to be obsessed with, oh, the gender thing or the racism thing, and then you guys say, oh, it's not here, it's not a big problem. But why are millions of people rioting every couple years?
So let me ask you a question.
We can say that it's Democrats and shit, right?
Well, let me ask you a question. Go ahead. So what do you think is a bigger problem facing America, single fatherhood or racism?
Racism, by far. That's how
Can you say that in the microphone?
Racism, by far, because racism gets people killed, not single fatherhood.
Well, no, a single motherhood. Let me be more specific. So single moms, their fathers leaving the home, you think is a bigger problem than racism?
No, sir. You're gonna have. I'm gonna repeat that one again for you. I think racism is a bigger problem than fathers being.
See, and this is the problem that we have in this country. He thinks, for whatever reason, that racism is a big problem. Racism plays no part on why black people are committing crimes, why black people, especially fathers, are not raising their kids. That has nothing to do with racism. That is why Charlie just brought that point. It is because single moms out there are raising these kids with no father in the home, and they have no male role model to steer them on the right path. So of course, if they're in bad areas and they have no male role model raising them, they're going to turn into a life of crime.
Outside of the home. However, I do see fathers not being in the home is a problem.
Let's make sure we're defining our terms. How would you define racism then?
Racism is a system of oppression used by a certain group using prejudice, institutional power, and it's situated by the media, government, and all these other institutions.
So give me an example of one thing you as a black man cannot do that I as a white man can do in America.
Got you. Okay, so about 2 weeks ago, right, I went to a DeSantis rally. Got my ticket, all that good bullshit. Been to a million different, rallies of a kind, whether, I was a conservative at the time or whether I was a liberal, right? I know that as a black person, I am far more likely to be arrested for expressing my view, whether I am a conservative.
You see what he just did right there? He didn't answer the question. He literally just said, give me an example of something that I as a white man can do that you as a black man can't. And then he talks about going to the DeSantis rally, and he's more likely to, he's not answering the question at all. This is Democratic nonsense.
Or a liberal. And I've done it on both sides. And oh yes, I was arrested.
You were probably being a jerk. That's why you were
actually,
arrested,
and that's the best part. And that's the best part, right? That's the best part. I wasn't even being a jerk. And the courts even found, our beloved courts.
Let me make sure I understand this. So you think the bigger problem than fathers not being in the home is a abstract conspiracy theory that you have that hecklers and jerks at political events are arrested because of the color of their skin? That's the best definition of institutional racism.
No, that's not my definition on racism. I did tell you what my definition.
Give me an example of something a white man like me can do that a black man like you can't do. Because guess what? If I showed up at a DeSantis event and started heckling, I'd be kicked out and arrested.
No, you would not. No, in fact, I even have evidence.
You know how I know that's true?
You want to know? Do you want to know how I know it's true?
White suburban kids from Highland Park, and they're arrested a lot more. Actually, when you see the mugshots. Yeah.
Oh, so white kids are arrested a lot more. Could that possibly be? Could that possibly be?
Can you talk into the mic?
And I'm just guessing here. Could it possibly be that white people are arrested more because you have a higher population, and therefore by proximity you are more like? Because it's math. It's basic math. I know we hate math. I know we hate it, but I passed it.
Okay.
Unlike y'all.
So let me ask you a question. How does racism contribute to black-on-black crime in Chicago? How is white people to blame for that?
Oh, actually, matter of fact, that's actually a whole other issue. So let's talk about. So you want.
That is a very, very, very great point right there. Because again, you see black Democrats are going to make excuses for every little thing. I got kicked out of the rally because I was black. I got pulled over because I was black. Oh, this happened to me because I was black. All this stuff, instead of actually saying, I was an asshole. I probably was a jerk somehow. Yeah, I got kicked out of that rally because I was heckling people and interrupting the crowd and all this other stuff and interrupting the speaker. So that's probably why I got kicked out. It's not because I'm black. They didn't say, oh, there's a black guy, let's kick him out. No, it's probably like Charlie Kirk said, you were being a jerk and that's why you got kicked out. But again, answer me this question. How do white people contribute to all the black on black crime that happens every single day in America?
I want to talk about intracommunal violence as it pertains to
so what does the white man have to do with that?
Oh, and that's a great thing. I love the red herring that you threw in there.
No, it's
intracommunal violence is proximal, right? So when we have segregation and we got races sitting in one area and you got another race in another area. Now, we never ask white people, why is white on white crime so high with white people, and but instead we focus on black people.
Yeah, so out of the 530 murders in Chicago of the last year, how many were black on black crime?
Hey, I wasn't looking. But you know what I do know?
Well over 420 of them were black on black gang-related crimes. How is that racism to blame for that?
Let's talk. So Now, are we going to talk about over-policing?
Oh, see, here you go. Here you go. Over policing. Now, here we go. Black people are making these damn excuses. Black on black crime is insane, out of control. This is why Trump is calling the National Guard to these cities. And he says, well, it's over policing. But first of all, police are there for a reason. Why is it that they cannot just take accountability and say, yeah, you know, there's a problem in our communities because there's no father. There's no father raising these kids. And because the mom is relying on government and can't raise these kids to be a man and steer them on the right path, it's very hard for a single mom to do that, especially in these tough areas, these tough neighborhoods. Well, this is what happens. They go down into a life of crime. But when called out on this, Charlie just says, how is white people responsible for that? And they say, oh, well, you know, it's over policing. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. So I'm gonna get to another one when Charlie, it's one of my favorite Charlie Kirk clips, actually, when he's talking about this other black guy debating him. And the black guy wants to talk about DEI and, you know, how DEI is necessary. And Charlie just says, no, it's not necessary. We judge you off the content of your character, not of your skin. Democrats need to stop pushing this narrative. And when are black Democrats going to wake up? This is a democratic narrative. They want you to think that you can't make it on your own. And this is what Charlie Kirk is saying. We don't judge you off your skin. We judge you off your character. I look at you as an equal. You can make it in this country. Anybody in America can make it if they have a great work ethic and, you know, they're on the rise. They have some opportunities. But for you to just sit there and say, oh, the white man is holding me down, you're never going to make it.
The age-old question, DEI.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah, give me your perspective on DEI, and because based on what I heard earlier, I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh,
because
really?
Of
Why?
how I am a black man, and because of DEI, I'm not qualified enough
Are you?
to be here. Yes, I am.
Okay, great, then you belong.
But why do I have to prove that to you?
You don't. You brought it up. I didn't.
Okay, but can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
Okay, but do you feel like I'm here because
I'm not feeling anything towards you, actually.
Okay,
I'm not prejudicing you. I'm not stereotyping you. I'm saying that it's a material.
I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
No, you are. You said I don't feel comfortable being here. You started with.
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable being here. I said I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so
Correct.
qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does.
But that's not all that it does. You're categorizing it as something it isn't.
No, that's exactly that is the charter mission.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. Is about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
Okay, but you have to also take into the fact that black people have only been able to completely legally
Here we go.
be able to make profit for themselves for around 60 years. And this is since segregation ended in 19
This kid has to be like 19 or 20, and he's talking about segregation. What does segregation back in the 60s, you know, have to do with anything right now? You're talking about something that happened 60 years ago when black people are now treated as equals. You know, it's in the Constitution now. And what is it that black people who weren't even around in that area, weren't even around in that time, these young kids still thinking that they're being oppressed somehow, that they can't make it because of they've only had rights for 60 years. It's insane.
1965 and the Equal Rights Act in 1965. So what you're talking, there's not.
How did that, so let's talk about you. How did that impact you? How did something that happened 60 years ago impact your life?
It impacts me all the
How?
time. Okay.
You're at Texas A&M, you're doing great.
Okay, yes. Sure, yeah.
So aren't you a living example that all that's a bunch of nonsense and you could just act good and, you know, behave well and succeed?
But there's also living examples of the exact opposite. if you look in the impoverished neighborhoods in certain parts of Chicago or St. Louis, there's black communities being thrown aside because they're not getting education.
Thrown aside? Okay,
yes,
so
thrown aside.
I think we can get somewhere. Why have the black community gotten poorer since the passage of the Civil Rights Act? Tell me that.
Because of the way the culture has been perpetuated through the
Hold on.
years.
Think about it. So they were richer when we were segregated and more racist. America's become less racist.
What about Tulsa?
Yeah, no one's going to defend what happened in Tulsa again. But let's talk.
But
we're talking about a lot of
is
different
an
cities. We're talking about
example
Chicago, Tulsa. But let's again. This is a very important point. Why is it that Black America has gotten richer on average, poorer on average, since America passed all these anti-racist laws?
I can't answer them.
Okay, yeah. So do you think the fact that 70% of black youth don't have a dad around is probably pretty important?
That's because of the culture. What I mentioned
So
earlier.
See, here you go. That's because of the culture. This is a problem. It is a huge, huge, huge problem in the black community that black Democrats will not own it. They will not take ownership of this terrible problem. It is because black fathers are not around in their kids' life by a huge margin, by a huge percentage. That is why single mothers right now, single black moms, are the highest ratio of single mothers in the country when it comes to just single moms. Black women have the highest total of single mother population in this country. And it is a problem. And it's not being talked about enough. It's not because white people are oppressing you. It's not because, racism. It's because of the black culture right now. Think it's cool to have all these women, drugs and violence and all this stuff. And unfortunately right now, there is a big, big, big problem that's not being addressed. And that is a single motherhood in the black community.
Respectfully, allow me to interject. How does the white culture impact the fact whether or not a black dad stays around when he impregnates a woman?
I'm not saying it's the white culture.
What is it?
The culture that has been perpetuated through the 200 years of slavery, the 100 years of segregation, and Jim Crow laws.
The marriage. So I got to interject again. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt too much. But
yeah, this is it's crazy. Now we're talking about Jim Crow. We're talking about slavery. Look at all the excuses that this kid is using in order to try to justify why black fathers aren't raising their kids. It has nothing to do with Jim Crow. It has nothing to do with segregation. It has nothing to do with slavery or none of that stuff. It is about taking the responsibility of your kids. And because you're not doing it, these kids are growing up without a father. The best way you can get a kid to, be an upstanding citizen is having a mom and a dad, having a man raising this kid, trying to guide him on the right path. Now, that's not all to say that, kids that don't have fathers, can't make it or can't be great in society. We know that's not true, obviously. But at the same time, it helps tremendously having fathers raise their kids. And right now in the black community, fathers are absent. That is why the black community has so much crime in it right now. And Democrats got to stop blaming racism. It's got to stop blaming white people because it is not the white person's fault. It is the black community's fault. We got to start taking ownership of this. I don't know what's going on in the black community, why they just can't just say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Black fathers right now, they're absent. The women are relying on the government. They're not trying to find a man to raise their kid because the government provides so much for them. It's saying that food stamps and money. And so if the government provides you all this other stuff, why would a woman be incentivized to do anything? She's just going to keep relying on the taxpayers, keep relying on the government. So I think Charlie did a very good job pointing out to this guy, look, it's not the white person's fault that the black man is not in the kid's life. You know whose fault it is? It's the fathers who decided to leave that kid, who decided to abandon the mother and abandon the kid. So we just have to stop blaming everything on white people. It's annoying. It's white people. And I want this message too. I want to drill this home for white people. I want them to know, stop feeling guilty. There should be no white guilt whatsoever, okay? It is not your fault. Okay, there's no white person alive right now that was a slave owner. None. There's no black person alive right now that was a slave. So we shouldn't even be talking about slavery. We shouldn't even be talking about racism because at the end of the day, Americans don't care about your skin color. There's might be a little, who cares? Right now, what they care about is the content of their character. Okay. How is this person raised? How is this person going to act? If I'm living next to this person, are they going to be good neighbors? Are they going to be loud neighbors? Are they going to be annoying neighbors? What kind of person, what kind of values do they represent? Are they going to be great family? Are they going to, try to raise your kids responsibly like I'm trying to raise my kids? This is something that they care about now. They don't care about your damn skin color. What values do you have? Are you a Christian? What kind of politics do you have? Blah, blah, blah. That's what it's all about. It's not about trying to blame white people for every little thing that happens in your life. It's got to stop. And CNN and MSNBC are doing it. Ilhan Omar, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, all these people think that black people are victims. They think that because of slavery, they deserve reparations. Again, no black person alive today was a slave. So why does anybody deserve reparations? You know what America cares about right now? America cares about the dollar, the economy, raising their kids, saving up for a college fund. There's savings, investments. That's what they care about. They care about health insurance. They care about the rising cost of prescription. That's what they care about. Nobody cares about something that happened 100 and something years ago to a group of people that now living currently in America were not even alive. So again, white people, we gotta stop making these people accuse white people of being racism. We got to stop having that white guilt. White people are not responsible right now for black people committing all this crime. You see all the videos. You can't go to a Target or a CVS or Walgreens or Walmart. You can't go anywhere without everything being locked up. It is not the white person's fault. So I'm glad that Charlie Kirk was brave enough. Again, he's a true hero. He opened up a lot of eyes, especially a lot of young guys' eyes out there that were like, hey, Charlie, this is what I was thinking, but can you give me a different perspective? And Charlie did a great job of giving people different perspectives on life, especially black kids, because when black kids that are young, like you just saw in this clip, they got to be 18, 19, maybe 20 years old max, talking about slavery and Jim Crow and see, that's taught. That to him is taught. Somebody in his life is teaching him that he is a victim and he can't make it in America because of his skin color, which is absolutely not true. Anybody can make it as long as they have a work drive, they have opportunities, they have the mentality of not being a victim. If they don't have that victim mentality, anybody can make it. So I respect Charlie. I love Charlie. We all miss Charlie. We miss debates like this, great debates like this on college campuses, telling young youth, especially young black youth, you are not a victim. Anybody in America can make it. Nobody gives a damn about your skin color. We care about the economy. We care about how far our dollar is going. We care about gas. We care about groceries. We care about all this other stuff. We don't care about your damn skin color. And why are we still having these arguments in 2025? It's insane. But the Democrats are master manipulators. They are so good at thinking that everything is racism. Trump's a racist. J.D. Vance is racist. Everybody's racist. Everybody's racist just because they have a different opinion than you. If you think that a black person doesn't deserve reparations, you're somehow a racist. I'm sorry. I don't think that black people deserve reparations. And I'm black. And guess what I get called? I get called Coon and Uncle Tom and all this stuff. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be out there and fight the good fight and make sure that white people right now are experiencing so much racism because of their opinions. They're experiencing so much racism right now because they don't think that, there's a lot of white people that are on my side and Charlie Kirk's side and the other side that don't think that, hey, I'm sorry, I don't care about your skin color. I think that you're a black man, you're a man, just like I'm a white man, but I look at you as an equal. And if you don't think that they deserve reparations, you're racist. It's mind-blowing to me that this still happens in America in 2025. So I hope that we come to the conclusion that I don't know who's going to be the ultimate person and bring everybody together and bridge that gap that we have, because we have such a big gap right now. There's literally nobody in the middle. It's this side or that side. Someone's got to bridge the gap and say, look, guys, you guys are treated as equal. We don't need DEI. We don't need racism toward white people and Asian people, just exactly what DEI is. We don't need this quota based off race, because again, are these people that you're hiring qualified to have this job if you're only going to give them the job because of you need 20 black people, or you need 20 Latinos, or you need whatever. But what about the great white people or the great Asian people that are also very well qualified, that tested higher than anybody else? Are we just going to sit there and say, hey, I'm sorry, qualified white man, you don't deserve this job because this black person who scored 10 times lower than you, we need a racial quota, and so we got to get him in? That's not fair to the white guy. That's not fair to anybody. And that person and that black, it's not even fair to the black person, because you know why? The black person who goes for that job should get the job and know that he got the job based on his merit and his character, and he beat out his other competitors. Just hiring somebody just based off race is a huge disadvantage, because you're putting this black person who's not qualified for this job in this position that he's not ready for. Hire people that are going to make your business, make your job, life easier, who you feel like this person is going to make my business excel. That's why you need to hire this person. And if you hire 10 white people because you think your business is going to excel because of 10 white people, then that's what you got to do. But we got to stop. We got to get rid of DEI, and we got to stop. We got to get rid of the victim mentality. All right, guys, remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.